Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video we will be talking about the weather obviously, and in particular a late season snowstorm that will be occurring across the United States, really just the mountains, Colorado, right, a bit of Denver and areas around it. So really it's kind of an extent calling it a snowstorm. It will be bringing rain and thunder showers, thunderstorms to the rest of the United States, or really the south and the south central US, and really kind of petering out as it pushes towards the east. However, there's a lot of activity that we have to monitor throughout the week. I will touch on a long range. I touched on it quite a lot in yesterday's video, so if you want to see that in more detail, definitely check that one out. Otherwise, if you're new, hello, welcome. If you are liking this content, watch the video, obviously, consider subscribing, liking, but if not, thank you in the first place for watching. So, let's take a look at right now what's going on across the United States, looking at the radar. So looking at the United States of America, we see a lot of showers, a lot of snow going on across the mountains. Really, this is where they kind of need that precipitation, so that's definitely a good thing. They do also need it across Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, Utah, all those areas which aren't really seeing a lot of precipitation right now, but hopefully other systems will in the future. Again, we have it further to the north into Colorado mountains. They have winter storm warnings, so sorry about that. Look at all these watches warnings. You can see 5 to 10 inches. Not a bad event even if this was winter, but this is already May 10th. So even for the mountains, this is definitely a snowstorm that is bordering on the larger side. You could see 2 to 4 additional total, 5 to 10 across Cheyenne. Definitely a large system. I don't know the record of how big their snowstorms were, right? The late season biggest ones. I'm assuming they've had plenty of May snowstorms, but again, just showing you a bit of snow, and this snow could stretch out further out into Colorado plains, potentially even touching areas like extreme western Kansas and Nebraska, probably not getting much further out other than just maybe a few snowflakes. But again, I left this on right here, these blue colors. That is indicative of freeze watches or freeze warnings in some areas. Sorry, frost advisories or freeze warnings. Notice that across many locations, temperatures could go down pretty low. So if you're watching this across Michigan, notice that it goes all the way down to really this whole state of Michigan, excluding Detroit from the freeze warnings, but they are in a frost advisory with 33 degrees. So your tender plants will freeze up. Look at that. A frosted freeze warning is in effect right there. A bit further to the north for 30 degrees sub, and then 30 to 35. So just again, cover up your plants, and you will be glad you did so. Across the south, we have warm conditions, no frost, but where there is no frost and there are warm conditions during the spring, we see thunderstorms. And that's the case. Notice just northwest of Dallas, we see quite a bit of rain. It is now starting to push into Dallas as a weak falling apart line of thunderstorms, but notice there's more developing on the back end of this. We have a thunderstorm, a group of thunderstorms traversing kind of the Mexican-U.S. border right there, the Rio de Grande River. And notice that it is, definitely a big thunderstorm. Large in size. Shouldn't really be severe though, but there are some severe watches up. Notice North Carolina, Georgia right there. A few thunderstorms are up as well into Florida. And this system is moving pretty nicely. Again, quite a bit of moisture associated. And across the northwest, just these scattered showers and snow showers, which with, again, some frost, some freeze warnings, which is, again, probably unexpected across this location, as further to the north, there aren't any, because there isn't really as much vegetation to kill up there, and probably it might not be as cold. And sometimes these form weirdly. Like yesterday, this was to the south of my area, and we weren't that cold. All right, so notice across these areas, I just want to actually see for myself is if Marquette will be below freezing. Yeah, they will be. So normally, if they had a lot of vegetation, right, they would have a frost advisory, except probably May 10th, they don't have much things open up, so the vegetation isn't still open, so it's kind of like winter still. Again, used there pretty harshly, the word winter. Again, winter storm warnings. You can see across Denver, Cheyenne. Let's go in Wyoming and see with what they're dealing with. Again, you could see quite a bit of snow. Shouldn't be anything historic, but definitely a bit on the later side of a snowstorm. Notice you do have those severe thunderstorm warnings across Texas. Quite a bit, 1 to 2 inches. Definitely need that rain. That is good news. We do have a severe thunderstorm watch over there. And mainly across the Great Lakes, the Northeast, the Midwest, it is going to be dry but cool for now. And let's take a look at this. This is the HER model. right, that goes out 18 hours every hour. Notice there's some showers developing today across Illinois, Indiana, into Iowa. And there we have our snowstorm moving off of Colorado and Wyoming into the plains of Nebraska and Kansas. Again, snowstorm used pretty liberally. It will be mainly a rain event for the lower elevated areas. However, further to the north into the mountains, further north and further north in terms of altitude. Notice we see that snow, and some of that again could spill away from the mountains into cities like Denver. A lot of people live there. It's not just the mountains. People always associate with no one living there. So again, quite a few people impacted by that. But then notice just a nice steady rain for Kansas today in the evening. Really, the overnight into the morning hours for me. This is like the evening. Yeah, I go to bed way too late. But notice across Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Mississippi, we see those little showers, storms erupting. None of them should be really too severe, right? That are widespread damage, but there is a slight risk, and that definitely is well warranted as there's just so many of them. It's bound to at least a couple of them have some criteria that goes over them, maybe 1 inch hail or 55 plus mile per hour winds. But for the most part, just very strong rain with this. And notice it does kind of show up into this large conglomerate of precipitation in the early morning hours, and that kind of spills into Oklahoma City and further south across Texas. Let's go back a few model runs, as that's when it goes out to 48 hours. Let's see. Notice this is what we are at right now, and I'm recording this 7 right now actually, and then 8, 9, 10. Notice, right, really the same stuff. Look at this thunderstorm cluster right there. Definitely impressive, and that might be actually going to happen as this is kind of old, this model run, but on the radar we can see there is a large cluster, and it doesn't look severe, I would say, maybe other than just some flooding rain, as that is very, very heavy rain. And notice that this, again, through the night, especially across southern Arkansas, thunderstorms erupt into Texas, Oklahoma. Notice further north, we have this high pressure, which is why it's bringing all those frost and freeze advisories. But rain further to the north, so it's a bit warmer up here across the northeast. Look at that, light rain to Kansas, as mentioned, a bit of snow to Colorado. Notice almost reaching portions of Kansas and Nebraska with that snowfall. Again, it really shouldn't be snowfall, just maybe snowflakes. And as you push this forward into tomorrow, look what happens across the south. Quite some potent lines of thunderstorms develop. We've had many lines go through there with that previous system. We had hopefully not as bad as that one. That one packed the punch, but you could see definitely a potential for some hail, large amounts of rain, and some damaging wind. And notice more rain across extreme southern Texas, so that is good news. They need rain, but maybe not that much in such a short amount of time. But you can see this system is ruthless, and by even Wednesday morning, 6, 7, 8, 9, it's still raining across Dallas into Texas. The majority of it is pushing off the Gulf Coast, but they do need some rain here across Georgia and South Carolina. So that is definitely good. Notice high pressure, very stubborn still across the Midwest, leading to cool conditions. Total accumulated precip. Notice there is where that system is occurring, that snow, and obviously where the thunderstorms occur. I would not be surprised, as you can see marked by the high res model. Some amounts up to 6 inches where those thunderstorms traverse. Now, I wouldn't put a 6-inch amount as a forecast, as that's rather absurd, but out of this whole southern United States, I do think it will be very hard not to get 6 inches in a few locations. Generally, though, if you get under a thunderstorm, you will be soaked. 2-meter temperature shaded. Notice, right? Most days, relatively nice. The south, pretty warm, but definitely cooler, especially right here. Notice it's warmer in Canada than in really northern Texas. So yeah, that does tell you something. And if you're to take a look at the GFS in terms of anomalies, you would see why it's much cooler, way warmer, and actually very cold across Texas and the south. If this was winter, that would be a Arctic blast, right? But it's summer, so really nothing too much to worry about, just these nice temperatures. And just if we're already on the temperatures, look what happens in the future. Right, there we go. There's our system. There's our pattern. We see cool breaks, right? A little bit of warm-ups. So again, generally, if you were to ask me right now, it definitely looks this pattern to be more dominated by warmth in the long range. As you can see, there will be pockets of cool air where low pressures are, or where outflows of thunderstorms occur, right? But this next, up until this weekend, really just some chilly temperatures, leaning definitely towards the chilly side across the north and east. And I should say chilly across those areas because across the west and southwest it will be warm. So notice this is our GFS simulated radar through about the end of this week. Mid of this week. And then that system, again, stubborn, but by Thursday moves off into just Florida. Still have that high pressure, which is even more stubborn than that system. I do want to take a look at that total snowfall. Notice the GFS paint some pretty decent amounts, extending even into eastern Kansas. So definitely a possibility. Though I would say this may be a bit on a more aggressive side. Let's take a look back at this precip we were looking at. Notice the high pressure across the northeast and eastern and really just all of the Great Lakes, so definitely keeping it dry and also cool. But then by the weekend we have a lot of warm air from the south spilling in. Look at those little several of those thunderstorm clusters by Sunday to Saturday. So obviously it's far out, but we will have another system by this weekend, and this one looks long-lived and further to the north. And finally that high pressure breaks hold, right? Warm temperatures rush into the north. But look, now we have rain further to the north across Missouri, Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, Kentucky. It doesn't look severe really, but it definitely has the potential to produce quite a bit of rain. Some models show this way further to the north. We will just have to wait and see which model is right, whether it's the GFS or the Euro or the Canadian, which I will show you in just a second, every single one of these models. Let's take it forward through the GFS. I do want to say that the GFS, out of all models, keeps it more precip dense, precip heavy to the south, while it keeps a lot of the precipitation away from the United States. So that's definitely something, from the northern United States, not just from the United States. And then notice into the mid-Atlantic, it shows some rain. Also shows bouts of cooler air pivoting in, as you saw through the anomalies earlier. Look at that, definitely some cooler air, so keeps that along for a bit longer than other models would. And notice that it does bring some rain into the northeast, up along the coast. Not much for the upper plains or the Midwest, but there's other models that do show that. Look at that. This GFS shows around the start of really just a week from now, rain across Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, California. So that is much needed rain. Definitely good news. And you can see that system pulls away, but we see a new one come through. And again, not really marked by large precip shields, more of pop-up thunderstorms, especially during the afternoon hours. And notice as it traverses towards the east, we see this kind of threat spread to the west, into the northeast, into the upper plains, potentially, hopefully some rain up there. And definitely a markedly warm pattern. Look at that, 80s, 70s across areas that have been stuck and have actually frost advisories for tonight. So, definitely a warming trend, or at least going back to normal, which at this point for the Great Lakes will be normal, much warmer. The Northwest is going to be a bit cooler from what they are right now. If you're to take a look at their current temperatures, they're definitely warm for this time of the year. You can see 70s right there in Washington are definitely leaning towards the warmer side, and again, that looks as if that may kind of go away in very long range, but definitely I wouldn't say a cold pattern for those folks either. Okay, so that's the GFS. Let's quickly take a look at the total accumulated precipitation through 384 hours. Notice towards the south the most, a bit across the west, southwest, but again, that's still not bad considering some years across the spring they have just not a single drop of rain. Notice quite a bit across the northeast into the Great Lakes, not that much. The Midwest, kind of lacking on some of them, but not a really a dry pattern, I would say. Canadian model, look at this. It centers again precip across the south, but it does center quite a bit more across the Midwest, meaning mainly Iowa, northern Missouri, Illinois, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Nebraska, South Dakota, and a bit less towards the northeast. I do want to say that this does go out only to 240, while the GFS that I just showed you went out to 384, which is like an additional 5 to 6 days. So again, this is the Canadian. Here's our snowstorm. You can see showing quite a bit of that snow across the south, that rain into Thursday, into Friday. Notice still cool across the Midwest, the Northeast. We do see some rain pushing in, and this is where the model starts differing from the GFS. Notice that. All right, this is what it shows into Sunday. Still looks everything the same, but look, instead of showing a lot of that rain across Missouri, Indiana, southern Illinois, it starts blossoming. Look at that, large, potentially a derecho type event. This is what a derecho would look like if it was predicted very far out. Again, no, nothing to even really worry about, but way further to the north, and that's something to point out with the precipitation, and develops a second stronger system with heavy snow across southern Canada, rain, and very, very warm temperatures. And you can just tell right off the bat because of this airflow. Look at that, above average. So probably 80s, 90s further across the south, 60s, 70s way up into Canada, and that would trigger large clusters of rain, thunderstorms. And notice that's exactly what happens. NBC, look at that, a large scale snowstorm across Wyoming. So definitely a weird solution from the Canadian, but definitely centers a lot more rain across the northern plains, which is where they probably need it the most, especially they're going since they're going into growing season. So again, this is the Canadians' rainfall amounts. This is the Canadians' snowfall amounts for today's system. Let's just go into it for the next couple of days. Notice again a bit getting into Kansas, but decent amounts across Colorado and into Wyoming, and the European model. If you're to take a look at it, notice what it does show. We have that precipitation, we have that snow, lots of these thunderstorms developing across the south, and again pretty slow moving system, kind of a stalled out cold front developing quite a bit of rain and precipitation with it. High pressure stubborn, right? We do see some rain showers across Friday and Saturday into Iowa and Missouri. And similar to the Canadian model, the European centers a lot of this precipitation further to the north. And notice this high pressure gets backed away. We start seeing warm air fill in, and notice right there, look at further to the north with that precipitation. Maybe not as strong of a low pressure as what the Canadian was showing, but definitely a lot of activity to the south again as well, more precip. So definitely not a dry season for Oklahoma or Texas this year. And look at that, the system kind of starting to develop and evolve continuously with very, very warm air at this point. Let's take a look at the total accumulated precipitation through hour 240. Notice, not bad amounts. Definitely minimal amounts towards the west, just a few areas seeing a few tenths of an inch maybe. Right there an inch as you get into the higher elevated areas in some pockets. Northwest, pretty dry across the next 240 hours according to this model. Look at that, the south, the northeast, the plains, pretty wet. Just a bit drier up here, which is again not good news. And in terms of snowfall, here we go, a bit lighter on the snowfall today, but still 4 or 5 inches out of that and into, look at that, 10, 11 inches. Probably actually from additional snow events. Yeah, you can see a bit lighter there if you just include today's system. And I do want to show you these temperatures at the end of this forecasting period. As I did say, they were warm. And let's go to 240. This, I think, is during the morning hours, so very warm already. But let's go back to this. Or yeah, look at that. Whoa. Definitely brilliant colors, right? Meaning very warm. Look how warm it's up here. A bit cooler around Chicago, the Great Lakes, as there's the lake breeze. But look, 70s, 80s. It's warmer across southern Canada than in some portions of Arkansas. So yeah, quite a interesting pattern. Again, not uniform, cold versus warm, pockets of warmth, pockets of cool, and yeah, definitely interesting. So I'll catch you all guys on the next episode. This is pretty much all I wanted to cover. I could actually show you the RAP model, which is another high res, just it goes out to 51 hours, and it's a bit newer than the other model that I showed you, the HER model, with its very long range, or with its long model that goes out to 48. Notice, there's today, there's system across Texas and into further to the north across Colorado, and I have the wrong one. There we go. This is the model I run. And notice, again, lots of showers, especially developing tomorrow in the morning across Texas, Oklahoma, the south, and that snowstorm pretty much ends by tomorrow, right? But then look at that across the southeast, lots of precip and cool air to the north. So nice day to the northeast and Great Lakes, a bit rainier towards the south. And yeah, that's all I wanted to show you. The NAM model goes out to 84 hours. I might as well just show you this one again. There's our system, right? It goes up further so I can show you more. Notice off the lakes we see that's rain shield move off, and again, look at that high pressure. It doesn't even budge. I mean, it's really stubborn. But the temperatures for the next 84 hours, this is what they look like. Notice, Great Lakes, northeast, definitely the chilliest, but we do see some nice warm temperatures moving in there during the daytime hours. The nights still pretty chilly. Look at that, 67, 68 across central southern Canada. Definitely warm. And as you push further and further out, we see warmer and warmer temperatures, so that's definitely good. Finally a warm up. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya.